recording? Okay. I really hope this is recording. It's okay if not, I guess. Sorry for the confusion, guys. I thought we were doing it at 5. So got on here at like 4:50 and saw you guys already did it. So watched your video. Love your information. And I'm just gonna walk through my information and then go over your guys' like rebuttals that you talked about. So I was also against the alternative sweeteners, and just like the intro to my information, synthetic sugar substitutes is like another name for an artificial sweetener. They were created to substitute natural sugar, which are higher calorie and like more dense. It's attractive to people because they don't add a ton of calories. They're not, there's like really not much to them. We eat a lot more for artificial sugars than we realize. They're in like soft drinks, baked goods, candy, puddings, dairy products, jams, jellies, a lot of canned foods, and that's just because it makes the nutrition label look so much better if it just is artificial, like it has the lower calories because of the artificial sweeteners. One study I found was in 1970, and it was on a study of rats. And I was actually in Mayo Clinic that posted it. And saccharin, a natural sweetener, had a high correlation to bladder cancer in mice and rats. And so even though it's FDA approved, it's not like super well studied. And even the FDA has an ADI, like an allowed amount per day, and we just need to use it in moderation. I don't think that you can like realistically cut out all artificial sweeteners. You'd have to do a lot of research on every food you ate. But the ADI I found was 5 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. So a 160-pound person could intake 31 packets of Splenda a day, and I think that's crazy. If you were going to compare that to sugar, it would be almost double the amount of Splenda you could intake versus sugar. And I think that's all for just basic information. I use a lot of it for the rebuttals, but the first one you guys talked about is replacing it because you can still have like your sweets, but they're low calorie and there's no negative side effects because it's not real sugar. And I actually looked up the same study that I don't remember who talked about it, but it was on childhood obesity. And in the study, like they kind of used, like people were justifying a higher sugar intake, especially for children, because there's this new sugar was low calorie, and it's not absorbed the same way, and so it like doesn't spike your blood sugar like normal sugar does. So I think it was originally advertised as this amazing health product, but like you guys talked about, the hormone isn't released saying that you're satisfied. So like if you eat like dense real sugar like cookies made with real sugar, you're 2 or 3 cookies in and you do not want any more because your body is like, okay, your blood sugar is high enough, we're still absorbing the sugar, you're full satisfied, you don't want any more, and that doesn't happen as quickly, if not like ever, when you're eating artificial sweeteners. So you just continue to eat, and this is hard for children because children don't understand any kind of nutrition basics, especially if their parents are promoting it because of it being low calorie. So this is a continuation of childhood obesity that easily is translated into adult obesity. So yeah, there's just no appetite regulation and no filling effect because there's really no bulk to an artificial sweetener. And then the second one you guys went over If I use non-nutritive sweeteners, I will use way less than I would with table sugar, which I think is a really good point. The rebuttal that I came up with or found in my research, kind of going over the same thing. There's no bulk or volume added, um, so you're using less, but you typically end up eating more. Um, there, there's like no calorie value, um, so like it's not supernatural. The reason we intake food is for supplementation for our body, and it creates energy. Um, And when we start eating just for satisfaction, and to just for taste, you gain like that unhealthy relationship with food. And so I think from an early age, having a healthy relationship with food, and knowing your limit with your daily sugar intake, your daily calorie intake, versus saying like justifying the fact that it has no calories, and you just eat it because it tastes good. I think that's all I have on that one. Yeah. The third one you guys talked about, non-nutritive, um, non-nutritive, like I don't remember how you guys worded it. I didn't write it down well, but basically, the fake sugars are plant-based, so it's okay and healthy. Um, and some of the things that I came up with against that was sugar itself has negative side effects. So why would we think that fake sugar would be any better? And both have high correlation to tooth decay, weight gain, poor nutrition, and high triglycerides. Um, so it's not like you don't get the negative side effects of sugar, but you're adding another, um, fake refined thing. Another thing that I found on the Mayo website, the Mayo Clinic, um, was that many times for sugar substitutes, they're often called natural, even though they are processed or refined. Stevia is an example of that. They advertise as natural, but it is very highly processed. And I think that's just marketing, and that goes with almost every food source and every kind of nutrition. You can find people, claiming things that aren't true. I want to make sure that I went all over the things. Yeah, I think I covered all this stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation on both sides. I think honestly the best thing to do for individuals making a decision on how they feel about artificial sweeteners is just education. Um, I think that artificial sweetener companies or even sugar companies love people that don't understand what they're intaking and what their body needs, because they don't see the pros and cons of what um, they're putting in their diet. And I have a few friends, even here at college, that it's pretty obvious that their parents had nutritional knowledge, and that wasn't passed down to them. They don't understand the importance of all their micronutrients and fruits and veggies, um, and I think once you have an understanding of all the things your body needs and why your body needs it, it's a lot easier to see what you're intaking, and not justify eating extra sugar because you know what it's doing to you. And somebody shared an example, like your missionary example. I think that's interesting. I had something similar. I work at a Mare Health medical clinic, so I'm an office manager. Um, and we just opened a respite care, which is like kind of like daycare for people, like kids with conditions, kind of give their parents a break. And we just were opening it, and we had a bunch of like patients we currently have that would be good candidates for respite care. So we're doing this open house, and so I did some research on our current patients, and their diagnostics, and there's this family that I knew was coming, and all their kids, one had type 2 diabetes, and the other two had like a warning on their account, like this patient is high risk of contracting type 2 diabetes. And I really think that comes back to their parents not really knowing what to feed their children and not knowing the benefits or negativity of what they are feeding their kids. But I was like, okay, we're doing treats for everybody at this open house for respite care, and I wanted to have something like a healthier option, because I knew this family was in our weight loss program, and so I wanted to give them something so they weren't as tempted. So Whole Foods in Idaho Falls was right across from one of our Idaho Falls clinics. So I just ran over there, um, and I was asking the workers, and usually they're really, really knowledgeable. And they said I kind of told them my situation, and they like pointed out these like low sugar cookies, and they had samples of them earlier, and so I tried one. They're still good. So I was like, oh, perfect. Like these will be great for these kids. And I took them back, and one of our nutritionists were there, and I kind of mentioned to her that I had gotten these cookies, and she looked at them and she was like, these are just as bad. They have like they say no sugar, but if you look, all of these things are actually glucose or they're fake sugars, um, and we still serve them. And I think, in ways they were healthier, but even the workers at Whole Foods were giving me information that wasn't totally true. And um, I mean, in reality, people at um, any kind of food industry or people trying to create anything, um, there's pros and cons to all of them, but everybody's trying to make money. So in reality, they're going to say what it takes to make money. So I think it really comes down to personal research. I try to avoid artificial sweeteners, but it's not something that's easily done. Um, so I think honestly, the best thing to do is education for people that haven't really had that resource in their life, um, and educating those around us. So uh, yeah, I hope that recorded, and I'll hopefully post it to the discussion board. Um, Loved your guys' conversation, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks for our next meeting. Bye.